Everyone, and welcome to Makers Demo Day. My name's Anastasia, and I'm the client partner admin here at Makers. So at Makers, our mission is to transform lives and organizations by bridging the gap between tech industry needs and underdiscovered talent. And as you'll see today, our makers are a dedicated and passionate group of individuals who are very passionate about tech, and they've gained essential skills, technical skills, and continuously expanded their capabilities throughout this entire process. During the bootcamp journey, they've built a strong foundation before diving into their chosen specialism, applying their knowledge to real-world projects in teams. And through teamwork, they've honed their ability to communicate, innovate, and drive projects forward. We've got a lot of groups presenting today, so we ask that you please stay muted for the duration of all the presentations. Each presentation should last around 10 minutes or just shy of 10 minutes. And at the end of each team's presentation, feel free to ask any questions in the chat and they'll be happy to respond. I'll now pass over to Kerry to give a bit more info about what our devs have been up to and start introing the teams to present. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Welcome, everyone. I'm Kerry. I'm a coach here at Makers. I've had the pleasure of working with the software development teams for literally the last 3 days, which has been super fun for me because I've got to come in and be like, wow, you're all so incredible. And yeah, you're going to love this demo day. So many cool projects. It's going to be great. So these devs have been with us for the past 14 weeks. Learning all sorts. They've learned Python and then they've learned another new language. Some of them have been doing JavaScript, some of them have been doing Java, and then spent the last 2 weeks putting that all together. They got to decide they could do a final project on anything they like. So they came up with these ideas themselves and then ran away with it. And you are going to be so impressed. I'm so excited for them to show off. Usually I'd do a bit longer spiel, but we've got a lot of presentations to get through today. So we're going to get stuck in and get going. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to the first team, who are Team Sticky Meme.
Hi guys, so we're Team Sticky Memes. The aim of our website is to test your memeing prowess and rate other people's memes to see where you stack up. So I'm going to take you through the sign up and login process. So we're signing up today for Sticky Memes with Dr. Bonks. Dr. Bonks is very keen to get some cat memes on the go. So a little bit too excited though, you have to make sure you fill all the fields in before you can sign up. So we're going to go back and put in our email. Once you've put in your email details and you've signed up, it immediately prompts you to log in by opening the other box so that you know you have to log in before you can continue. And this is our home screen where Tim is going to take you through.
Thank you, Sarah. So the point of the site is to rate and view the memes. So I'm going to show you how that bit works. We've got our ratings bar there down below the memes. You've seen the same thing on eBay or Amazon or whatever. You just click how many stars you want. Over to the left, there's going to be the average of the user scores. We don't show that initially because we don't want to influence your score. Rating memes is serious business and we want to be as scientifically accurate as we can. So as soon as you click the backend updates with the average score, we put some nice reactive rendering, brings that through straight away for you. We've got 5 stars here. Clearly, everybody loves this spotty boy. We don't just show you the scores, though. We use your ratings to influence which memes we're going to show you next. So we store all the ratings that you've done on the site. And based on how you rate memes with different tags, we're going to weight what we show you next. So if I consistently rate cat memes high and programming memes poorly, it's going to show me more cat memes. Although we bias what we show you towards what you like, there's still a bit of a random element there, so you can get anything. Just make sure you don't get stuck in a filter bubble. So that's ratings. I'll pass you over to Peter, who's going to tell you about the tags.
Hi. Yep, thanks, Tim. So we filter memes based on the tags. So we can see this meme has cats and programming as its tags on the left-hand column. If we open up this filter memes button, we can then begin to apply the filters. So begin by applying a single filter of gaming. So Now when we start cycling through, we'll only see memes with the gaming tag. They can have other tags as well, though. And then we can apply a secondary tag as well. We'll also apply programming. Now we'll only see memes containing both of those tags. So only a couple of these to see. Didn't have that much seed data. We've got a clear filter button. This just sets the list of tags that we're filtering by to being in an empty array instead. That way we're able to return to our randomized list. And lastly, we're going to apply a set of tags that is not present in the database. No meme currently has cats, gaming, and heavy metal as tags, although I'd love to see it. So we see another error message. That also automatically clears the filter, so you're ready to move on to more browsing. The list of tags that we have is dynamically rendered based on what's in the database. So when we upload new memes and with new tags, we'll be able to see them in this list of filters. And I'll pass on to Steve to show the next features.
Once we've found an awesome meme, we can comment and let the world know exactly what we think about it. Here's one about programming. So let's write a comment. The comment lands in the comment box below, with the most recent at the top. Just like with ratings, once the comment's been added, there's no going back. This will stay with the meme forever, so be careful what you say. The comments being stored in the database, they persist for us to come back to later. We're having so much fun on Sticky Memes. Let's upload our own meme so we can fully become part of the experience. We'll choose our favorite meme, add a title, add some tags, and upload. We have this reassuring message in the meme that the meme has now gone into the randomizer. And up here we can see our tags ready for other memers to enjoy. Let's go and see Bree.
Thanks, Steve. We implemented a secure login button that logs users out, clears token from local storage, and redirects you back to the login page. So for our share feature, users can share any memes directly via social media. They can use a meme link. Please note that most social media platforms block links from localhost websites, so this feature will only be deployed once. It will only work fully once it's fully deployed. Also, with our website, it allows for multiple users to register their accounts. And upon logging in, each user has equal access to their stats page, can view, comment, rate, and share memes. I'll pass you on to Trudy to go through the stats page. Thank you.
Thanks, Bree. So before I get started, I'm just going to rate this meme. So cute. So the stats is accessible through this big pink My Stats button. On the right hand side, we have My Memes, which says there's a sort of mini portfolio of like kind of the memes that we've created. I can see my most recent, but I can expand that to see older memes. I can see which one of my memes are doing best by going into highest rated. I can see what I've recently rated, so you can see the one that I've just rated at the top there, and also like kind of the ones that I've rated most highly. Each of these cards is clickable, so when you go into it, you get through to an individual meme page where you can share it with whoever you'd like from there. This activity widget shows your activity on the site over time, so memes created versus memes rated. And when I hover over the nodules, I can see a little bit of a breakdown. So in June, I created 3 and rated 8. Now at the top of the My Charts screen, I can see like kind of how I fare in like kind of all the tags that I've participated in. So I'm number 1 in gaming, so I've got this nice gold card to show off that. These change based on rank, so silver for 2nd, bronze for 3rd, and you get white if you're not in any of the top spots. So our leaderboards pit our users against each other. It shows the average across all their memes. So Tim's number 1, but I'm hot on his heels at number 2. What I really want though is I want to be the best cat meme creator on this site. So I can have a look at the individual tag boards to see who I need to take down to do that. So let's see who that is. And it's Peter. You're going down, Peter. And speaking of, I'll pass you on to him to give you some final thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Trudy. So overall, we had really quite a smooth project. Everything was going rather well. We can attribute a lot of this to our strong planning that we made at the beginning of the project. It was very collaborative. We were able to split things up very modularly into easy to digest tickets that we also were able to share quite well. We did run into a few issues, especially early on. We had some overlapping work. There's less to go around, so inevitably that did happen. And then towards the end of the project, we did have difficulty implementing one late stage feature. We let the planning slide a little bit at that stage because we're overconfident perhaps, but it just serves to emphasize the success we did have early on when we did plan things well. I'd like to open the floor for any questions, especially keen to hear from any quality engineers, given that we didn't have any in the project, if they have any perspective on what we've been doing. And thanks for listening.
Yay, amazing. Thank you so much, team. Awesome presentation. Loved it. If anyone has any questions, you can either unmute now and ask them, or you can put them in the chat and I can read them out. I'm only going to give like super small window though. Nick, go for it. Or was that an accidental hand up instead of a clap? I feel like it probably was. Avian, is that a question? Oh, that's okay, Nick. You can type it in the chat. Ah, okay. Question from Nick. How did you segregate user sessions?
I presume what the answer to that is that based on the JSON Web Token, that logging in and out provides you with one which is linked to your user ID and the time that you're logging in at, and I believe that's my understanding of it, and then removing that from it when you log out. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. And another one, which is how long did the project take?
We're working on it for 2 weeks. We settled on an idea quite quickly, so we had the maximum time available really to work on it. But yeah, started 2 weeks ago and finished. We did have a good working project by the end of Wednesday this week, and some fine tuning yesterday. Adam,
Hey.
heavy metal cat meme, great.
Oh, yay. I was looking, when I was
We
watching
have
their
been
practice
searching.
presentation yesterday, I started searching for that because I was like, I need one. Amazing. We have another question. Whoever has their hand up, who I can't see because my screen's gone funny. Go for
Okay.
it.
Hi, I'm Imal. I'm from TES. I know you mentioned I missed the first bit, so sorry, apologies for that. So this project that you have built, I'm a QA manager. So do you have you got any QA involvement? Did you say you haven't got any QA, or have you
We
got
didn't have any
QA?
QA members on our team, no.
You didn't. Okay, fine.
No.
We did still manage over 90% test coverage front and back end though, so we had it
Okay,
covered.
so it was all tested by you guys, the engineers in themselves. Okay,
Yep, we got
fine.
everything.
Thank you. So there's no reporting as such saying what you wrote, what test you wrote, but it's like on the go, on as you build. Okay,
More or less, yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay, fab. Thank you, everyone. Great work, team. I'm going to move on now because we've got tight schedule. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat and then the team can answer in the chat as well. But great work. Okay, next team, I'm going to pass over to Team Food Cloud. Talk about their app.
Hi there. So we're from the Food or Fitness app group, and we wanted to go down the food route. So I think it's fair to say that that's a pretty crowded space. So the challenge is to come up with something that could be done within 10 days, but would nevertheless be useful. So we decided on a single week meal planner. In a nutshell, we give users a library of predefined recipes, a page with a week's worth of meal slots, and the ability to insert into those slots the meals they'd like to eat. As the slots fill up, users can then generate shopping lists which contain all the ingredients they need to make the meals they've selected. To help them select, we've got search and filtering and a favorites feature for quick access to frequently eaten recipes. All of this can be distilled into 4 short user stories, which Zahad is going to take you through.
So let's say I'm a user. I want to find recipes that I want to cook. I want to populate my meal plan. I want to make a grocery list for those meals. And I want to find meals that will use up ingredients I already have. With the user stories complete, we turned our attention to working out how a user would navigate through our app intuitively. So this slide is a screenshot of the user interface we planned out with the assistance of our quality assurance engineers, who from the start were keen to get a very fleshed out understanding of how our UI would deliver on our user stories. In addition to the schematic diagram, we took the time early on to come up with an approximate design of each of our screens. This gave us the opportunity to refine the user experience and allow development on the front end to start straight away.
And now I'm going to take us through a short site demo. So our login here is just using Ortho. I'm going to just use a test account for the purpose of demonstration. We take ourselves to a dashboard where we have our 4 main purposes here, outlined as 4 main sort of pages, written in human understandable forms so that a new user to the site understands how to navigate it. So if we look at the first of those user stories, if we want to find a recipe to cook, we're going to go to our recipes list. And here we have a sample database of 12 recipes. Obviously in production, you build up many, many more. But within this 12, I can search by name. I can use the description to search by features such as tender. And if I only have a certain amount of time to cook, I can search by cooking time. So I might have only 45 minutes, and that will limit my options to those meals where I can cook in that time. I can also add on dietary restrictions, so I might be a vegetarian and not want any meat. And I might also have a gluten allergy, and that would limit me down to these options here. So within those options, I can, let's say, I've got a nut allergy, I can favorite those options and retain those on a sort of short list that I can come back to. Within each item, I can open it up, have a nice little description, ingredients, kind of important dietary information highlighted there, and steps just in case I have no clue how to cook it. This site will give you that full rundown. So having found a number of recipes that I want to cook, let's move to that second user story where I want to make a meal plan for my week ahead. So I'm going to go ahead to my meal plan here, which I could also go to via the dashboard. We have 3 slots per day of the week, nominally a breakfast, lunch and dinner, but of course you can use them however you wish. And I can fill those up from my favorites list, but equally I can search for those recipes by name, if I want to have some brownies for dinner, for example. And I can also click to easily remove them, or in fact clear them all together, and then re-add them from my favorites or from that search. Having filled out my whole list, let's say, I would then be able to go here and see a menu running down here. So from my dashboard, I can easily see the plan for the week. So I've found my recipes, I've planned my meals for the week. Now I need to go grocery shopping. So I can simply click View Groceries List. I will see a written out groceries list with every item, all the ingredients added together and converted into not only human readable units, but also consistent units that you tend to shop for, right? You serve a lot of these things in tablespoons and teaspoons, but you buy them in grams and milliliters. So we convert it into what you're going to be buying them in. This is an entirely user editable field. So if I always know I want more tomatoes, I can simply add that. If I know I want dog food, I can add that on there. And then I have 3 savable lists that I can save that to. And then I can load from those lists. And if I want, I can go back to the main one, and you see now I have my clean option there. For our final user story, the kind of finding meals that will use up the ingredients in the cupboard, I'm going to go to our next member, Giuliano, who sadly couldn't make it today, but I have a video from him walking us through it.
Hi everyone, I'm here to talk about our search by ingredients function. So this particular function we decided to create with our I want to find meals that will use up the ingredients in my cupboard user story. But it was also inspired by our Noel's cookbook of my mum's, which basically started the book with a list of ingredients, which you could pick an ingredient and it would show you the recipes that would use that as the main part of the recipe. It essentially comprises of 3 little searches. The first one here allows you to search for recipes with a mix of ingredients. So say I wanted to do chicken, beef, and lamb. And with a few little errors in there, it'll still find your recipes that will have chicken, your lamb, and your beef in them. The one just below will allow you to find a recipe which has all of the ingredients you've put in there. So say I've got lentils, I've got cheese, and I've got tomatoes. And that will get my specific recipes with just those items in there. So you've got your tomatoes, you've got your lentils, and you've also got your cheese. Third one over here was actually to use a pre-made grocery list. So something that you would have generated for your meal plan. It will allow you, if you've got a custom one especially, to use that to generate a selection of recipes. For the moment, these are matching in a recipe with 3 ingredients. But if I can't find something that matches 3, it will just show single ingredient matches there. But we'll look to add filters with that one in the future. Last little bit I wanted to talk about was actually our profile page. So for the moment, we put in a little spot you can actually add in a picture for your little avatar on the top here. This was particularly troublesome in Java because once you've compiled the app, it wouldn't allow you to make changes to that app. So we had to create a folder outside of the app, but then we had to allow the web access for that. Likewise, we're trying to use the updates and deletes, especially linking it to Ortho. It was particularly troublesome because of CSRF tokens that were required for security to the website to help block some unauthorized access. I hope you've enjoyed that. We'll pass it on to the next person in line. Thank you very much.
So to talk a little bit about our working practices, we had twice daily stand-ups, and one of the key topics for these were dealing with our GitHub pull requests. It's something that we felt that we really improved throughout the project was being quite thorough in terms of reviewing the code changes that were coming in and understanding the implications of those as a team. I can definitely speak for our team, and it might be relevant to the whole cohort when I say that these projects have been a fantastic learning curve in terms of working with Git, the opportunity to make some mistakes in a safe space and also to start on the road of developing some best practices in how we work with it. We split our work into tickets using Trello, and the way in which we segregated our work made sure we all had exposure to all layers of the code. So we all worked across the front and the back end and understood all of the elements. We integrated some small elements of JavaScript functionality into our project. So for example, the search and the favorite function. And again, this really highlighted the skills that we've developed through the bootcamp, becoming familiar with a new language and picking that up quite quickly. We worked with a team of quality engineers, which was also a new experience, but added so much value throughout the whole process. They really informed our thorough planning. And as soon as we started building stuff, they were really, really vigilant in finding bugs. We used the bug report functionality through GitHub. And again, I think as developers, we all felt that it showcased how far we've come in terms of our bug fixing abilities, that we were able to pick these up and turn them around relatively quickly. Our quality engineers also brought our attention to elements that we perhaps hadn't thought about. For example, optimizing our site for accessibility. So where we had some really visual interactive pop-ups in place, making sure that they were also accessible if using screen readers and keyboards. So I just want to take this quick opportunity to say thank you so much to our quality engineers and to everyone for listening today. We are looking forward to hearing more about some of the other projects.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Team Food Cloud. I have 30 seconds for questions. If you have questions, get them in super quickly, because we don't want to run too far behind schedule. If you do have questions post the 30-minute, 30-second even window, you can just pop them in the chat and the team can reply to you. But you seem to be getting great feedback in the chat and everyone wants your application. So I guess the question is, when are you going to deploy it?
Sounds like a question for maybe Giuliano. Unfortunately, he's not here.
Is it going to get deployed? That's really exciting.
Watch this space is all I'll say on that.
In terms of the for the quality engineering side of this project, by the way, the quality engineers will be doing a presentation later, so you'll get to see all the quality assurance side of that a bit later on in demo day. But thank you so much, team. Amazing work. Well done. Congratulations. I'm going to pass on to the next team now, who are Team TES+1.
Hello, everyone. Hope you can all see my screen. And if you can, we'll pop over to Curtis, who will begin the presentation.
Okay, we're Team TES+1, and we'd like to welcome you all to the TES Bar. We've been thinking a lot about cocktails, and we thought the issue with cocktails is that it's really difficult to find recipes for things, for all the ingredients you already have. And if you're planning a cocktail party, it's difficult to know how much to buy for all the people who are coming. So, if I pass over to Eve, she can talk you through our solutions.
So our solutions to that was that we would have a smart search so that you can find cocktails by name or individual ingredients. There's over 600 cocktails in our database. We have a personal bar section as well, where you can favorite cocktails and plan events. And within event planning, there is a calculator which will calculate all the ingredients you need for your event. But there's also a few community features like rating, reviewing, and discovering trending cocktails. I'll pass you on to Ian to introduce the demo.
Yeah, just going to pop onto the demo now. So
right, so this is the first page you get to, and if you try to navigate anywhere else in the site, you'll come back to here. So this just verifies your age. So if you're not old enough, over 18, then you'll get this message, but we are, so let's go straight in. Right, the first page you come to is the cocktail of the day. This changes every 24 hours, so I suggest a new cocktail for you, and we currently can't favorite it because we're not logged in. So we can sign up as a new user. And we need a username and a password. Let's just try one letter. We get an error saying you can't sign in with a not good password, and this should work. Ooh, there we go. Right, so once we've created an account, we then need to log in. And there we go. We can now favorite the cocktail of the day. Right, so next, cocktails by ingredients. George?
So the cocktails are by ingredients. This is accessible to people with or without an account, and it'll allow you to select an alcoholic or a non-alcoholic ingredient, and it'll filter cocktails from the API and return them to you in more details. So if you'd like, we can select a vodka or a gin. And if you do get drinks from here, it'll show you every cocktail that you can make with a vodka. But if you want to do like a more refined search, if you did like a vodka and a lime, and you click the get drinks, it'll load and it'll show you a more refined search. And if you'd like to click on one of these drinks, it'll give you more details. And from here, you can see the overall rating, instructions on how to make it, and ingredients. And if you'd like, you can favorite it, which will take you to your account if you're logged in. Where you can search it for it later. From here, we'll go to the search bar, which Eva talked about.
So maybe you don't need inspiration for what you want to drink. Maybe you know exactly what you'd like. So I'd quite like a mojito. The search bar will also bring up all the variations of a mojito. And when you click on it, you're taken to the individual cocktails page. And there's more information about reviews on there. So you can see how many stars it's been rated by other users and see their latest reviews as well. You can also rate a cocktail if you're logged in. So you might say, lovely cocktail. The mint and the lime go well together. Not that strong. Once there is 3 or more reviews, we have an AI feature which summarizes all the reviews just in case you don't feel like reading them all. Now, if you take me to My Bar, please. My Bar is only for logged in users. This is where you can see their favorite cocktails and also plan events. I'll let Ian take you about events.
Perfect. So yes, like you were saying, we can plan events as well, and we can see all our previous and upcoming events. And with this feature, we are able to create events, edit events, view our events, and also delete events. So we're going to jump in and create a new event, and we're going to give it a name, Wild Party. We're going to set a date, which we can only set to dates after today. We'll give it a number of attendees, so maybe we'll just give it 50. Let's say we have 50 coming to our party, and then we can give a cocktail as well that we want to serve for our guests. So what cocktails are we going for? Mojito. And what was the other one? Black Russian. Perfect. Cool. So now we have all our details in, we can create an event, and it'll pop into our events list. So from here now, what we can do is we can view event, and it'll give us a cool little description of all the supplies that we'll need. So based on the amount of attendees we have, it'll automatically calculate all the necessary ingredients to make all the cocktails. And if we wanted to edit this information, so let's say we needed to add more members or we needed to reduce the amount of members, we can do that here. And we can also change the date, change the name, and serve more or less cocktails. So we're going to change the attendees to 70, and we'll just leave the cocktails as it is. So you'll notice here as well that the automatically calculated supplies has increased because we have more attendees. So after this, I'll show you that we can delete an event as well. Once we're finished with any of our previous events, we have the opportunity to delete it. And that's pretty much about it for my bar page. So finally, what we can do now is we can log out because we're finished with the site, and it will bring us back to our initial site where it asks us to verify our age. And thank you for listening. So that's it for our demo. So now we're going to jump into some retro type of things for our presentation. So going to start with our planning. So we had a lot of planning with the dev team and also the quality team. It was great working with 2 different sides for this project. So we used tools like Excalidraw and Trello, which are very helpful to kind of get our planning down in one place and just give us like a dedicated area so we can pretty much refer to and then build on throughout the project, so we're not just going in crazy different directions. So initially we planned our MVP, and then we built upon that with our beyond MVP points. We built wireframes in Excalidraw as well, so this was essential for our design and structure of the project for us to refer to. And finally, with the help of the quality team, we created user stories and then made tickets for the user stories, which basically just kept us in track for the whole project. And now we're going to finish off with George on the last slide. I'm not sure if he's muted or...
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Right. So challenges and learning. We used an external API And with the external API, we had a lot of difficulties because we were used to like building our API, so we chose what data we were getting sent back and what and our routes and stuff. So this we had to learn how to get data and how to manipulate the data to get what we wanted for our website. We also used a lot of new technology and tools. For an example, we saw the AI review reader, and we had to work out how to use all this. And for something that's new for us, we had quality engineers on our team. This was new to us, but we just found it super helpful. We used a lot of GitHub issues. We found that super useful for spotting things that we wouldn't notice ourselves, as well as being involved in the user stories and how we planned our project. Overall, we just found it super useful to have them in our team. And it runs so much smoother than our other projects. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Amazing. Thank you so much, team. Who else wants a cocktail now? I'm feeling, ready for the weekend. So, such a cool project. Love it. And so many features. Even managed to get some AI in there. Love it so much. And yeah, hopefully you can get this deployed too, because I think a lot of people will want this application. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat. There is a question already from James, which I will read out, which is, does the event planning presume that every attendee will have exactly one of every cocktail served? Oh, and someone already replied. More drinks is a week 3 feature. Unfortunately, they only had 2 weeks. You'll also see another presentation on this because the quality engineers will be doing the presentation on the quality side of this. Any other questions? They're quick before we move on. Irina, go for it.
Guys, very impressive data set. Can I ask you where you got your data set from?
I can't remember the name of the URL, but I can message you later with it. I can message everybody in the group if you want to have a play with the API. It's good fun. The data you get from it is a little bit random, though.
Amazing. Okay, great work, team. Thank you so much. You did a great work, great presentation. Okay, we're gonna go on to the next team now, who changed their name today. Well, they told me their new name, and I can't really pronounce it very well. But we're gonna go for it anyway. So, gonna hand over to Team Yasnab. Maybe I did it right. They can correct me in a second. Go for it.
Nobody in the team can pronounce that correctly as well, so don't worry about it.
Okay, that's fine. I don't feel bad.
Let me figure out how to share my screen because everything is incredibly slow. Second. Okay, do you see my screen? Hopefully, yes. Cool.
Welcome to the Banksy Map, an app for real graffiti fans. Discover the iconic works of Banksy in London. Explore locations, get inspired, and share your experiences with fellow fans.
Right, welcome to the Banksy Map. This is the landing page, which any user can use. You don't have to be logged in. You see a custom Google map with all of the Banksys in London mapped out. If you click on one, you can see more details, and then you can also see more in the large pop-up if you click the second link. You can also filter here on the side. So let's say I want to look at anti-violence. You can see that they filter down, and you also maybe do by holding down Control, anti-violence and capitalism. Or perhaps you want to spread, because these are all quite similar. So child labour, children, and we highlight those tags also you can see on the map. You can also filter by authenticity, which Nick will demonstrate. And then we've got a location filter. So if I type in a postcode, it fetches it, And we can then use this lovely thing to drag down. You see them appear and reappear as you set the max distance. You can also click current location, but when that finds the current location, they're all going to disappear because I live in Vienna, so I'm far too far away. When I clear all filters, let me just show you how you can sign up. And then log in. Here we go. And then you can see some things have changed. So we have this ability to filter by bookmark and visited. You see there's an account tab.
Irina, the sound seems to have gone on the video.
This, but that team must be so smart. Wow. Now if we click
Oh, okay. I see why. It's coming through your microphone instead. If you
on
just
this,
keep
you can
yourself
see that it's
unmuted, we'll be able to.
unverified. And we can filter by all the unverified, if that's what we want. You know, we want to check out maybe some cool new things, be the first one there, certified ones. But let's go ahead and open up this one. Beautiful. I think that's a good looking Banksy. It's got when I discovered it, the description, and the address that we just put in.
As you would have seen a moment ago, each artwork pop-up has some icons. So we've got one to add a bookmark and one to add a visit. These icons can be seen at the top of the full artwork pop-up, along with an extra icon, which you'll find out about soon. So if a user wanted to stash the artwork for later, they could just add that to bookmarked. And likewise, if there was an artwork maybe they'd seen in the past, they could just add that to their visited. This leads us on to a personal profile, where we have a small profile on the left-hand side with some statistics, and that includes the count of the visited and bookmarked artworks, and then they can be seen in a list where the user can access the full pop-up or subsequently remove any items needed from the lists.
We created badges as a little trick to incentivize people to interact with our website. So if you go to view badges, you can see that you get the first one for signing up and joining the community. And then you can unlock badges for visiting or bookmarking places. So let's see if we can become a wannabe explorer and collector. To do that, let's just go back to the map. And let's say we've visited this place. And let's bookmark Winking Woman to see if it actually exists for later. Now, if we go back to our profile, you can see that the badges count increased to 3. And ta-da, unlocked.
So badges inspire us to explore the map, but we also want to connect to the community of Banksy fans. So to do that, we can use comments option. If I am a logged in user, I can see a comments icon on every artwork. I can see comments by other people, and I can post mine.
post comment, and I can see it instantly. And if it is my comment, I can edit it. Plus, plus some exclamation marks, and it updates instantly, and we can delete it as we're asked if we really want to delete this comment. We are really want, yeah, to delete this comment, so it's not there. And because we are using the centralized database, we can actually see the updates on artworks and comments in real time. So this is the artwork that Nick just showed you, adding to the database, but let's check if we can add the comments in real time as well. Go and ask, let's say, Ollie, do you think it's a real Banksy? And we post a comment, and the comment is there. And we return to that artwork. Hopefully we can see a comment. So if I go to my profile, I have like 3 different tabs here: visited, bookmarks, and comments, and I can check all the comments with all the works, and they will take me straight to the place where I left the comment. And here's our little thread with Ollie.
So this is the end of the official video, but Meg also wanted to share some points about our work together, our little retro, let's say.
Yeah, I think Nick might also want to jump in, but we just want to say that we sort of had a list of things that went well and things that went less well in the process. Things that went really well was the custom Google Maps integration. Managing to work out how to use that API and also take all of their standard stuff out of it and just put our pins in with advanced markers with React. Also, we really succeeded. We wanted to have a single kind of homepage for the map and the profile that just renders different components depending on whether you're logged in or what view you're clicking on. So that went really well. And Nick did an amazing job with the Git workflow for the team. He implemented that spectacularly, and also he built a CI/CD pipeline. Irina managed to anonymize the images in the HTML, so it is fetching them from a public bucket online, but you can't see that. You can just see localhost when you read it in the inspect. And then also having our centralized database, which was already mentioned. And also we managed to somehow do this with custom CSS with no bootstrapping, and it was extremely painful, but it did go well. And then what we needed more work on probably, we had a little bit of communications issues sort of in the middle of it, where we found with Trello, people were picking up tickets and assuming they included things within them, and they ended up with some overlapping work. So that would be something to work on, kind of a little bit more granular detail in our Trello planning. And also our front-end testing was not complete at the end, and we found that quite a struggle to get through. So that would be our work area we'd want to spend more time on.
Yeah, like what Meg was touching on. I think overall our teamwork was pretty spectacular. I mean, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I had a great time on the team, and we had a good flow. So one of the main things was trying to make sure that we had a good streamlined way of working, a bit of a system, so that we were a bit faster in delivering things. So that CI/CD pipeline that Meg was talking about is essentially just an automated workflow that runs some tests before you can combine the code that you've written with the main existing code. So that allows us to track bugs, make sure that we're not, merging bad code into, what we already have. Prevented quite a lot of crashing and problems down the line. But yeah, I think overall we worked
really well as a team, which I'm proud of.
I've just seen the comment about the form. I don't know exactly what you wanted to know, but when the form gets submitted, it sort of re-gets all of the artworks, which render as the advanced markers on the Google map, and it uses the coordinates by using a geolocation from the address in the form to pinpoint the location on the map, which is then returned.
Yeah, so we did a bit of a cheat. So not really a lot of us. It looks really smart, looks really great. But yeah, so Google does a lot of like pre-built stuff for us. So we just use that, and like what Meg was saying, it converts the address into latitude and longitude coordinates, and then some magic stuff happens in the back end, and then it comes back to the front, and then voila, you're on the map. It's just magic, really. Not much else to it.
I can see a lot of comments about the fun design, so I think it's a good. Well, first of all, thank you, and it's a good place to mention that all of the CSS is custom made. Nothing was bootstrapped, nothing was downloaded from anywhere. It was just like everything made, made by the team.
Amazing work. Thank you so much, team. Such a great job. Even with the mild tech issues, all is well. Thank you so much. You did a great job. Also, I live in Bristol, so I feel like I need this app to go like hunting for Banksies. So let me know when it gets deployed, and I'll get adding.
We need to add cities.
Yeah. Great work. Thank you so much. We've had a question in the chat that's already been answered. So if you've got any, just so we can stay on time, if you've got any questions, put them in the chat and the team will answer them. Otherwise, well done, team. Great work. I'm going to pass over to the next team now, who are Team Stat Attack.
Cool, nice one. I'll just share my screen quickly. Hopefully we can see the beginning of a video. And I will start us off. So hi everyone, thanks for coming and thanks for sticking with us this far. This is our presentation for online card games, Stat Attack. The development teams, myself, Avian, Alex, Karen, and Victoria. We worked alongside two quality engineers, Alina and Barbara. Stat Attack's a game we've created that's aimed at gamers or people in general who enjoy Top Trump style card games and would like to play it online without the requirement of downloading a mobile app. Please ignore the glaring copyright issues. Alex will now take you through our initial planning for Stat Attack.
Hi there. In the initial planning, the first step was choosing a game idea, and we had a few different ideas, but as a team, we narrowed it down and voted on as a Top Trump style game, Stat Attack. Through the MPV planning, we decided on what features and components are essential for the Stat Attack user experience, and further along, the components which we might need for those pages, whether it's models, repositories, or tables within the database. Next, when we knew what our components were, we had a visual representation of what we needed to build and parse in through to each page. We mapped out everything needed for the gameplay loop, whether it's the models, the routes, the repos, and what's actually happening, and the logic behind that. And finally, the last thing we mapped out was the styling, which we might use for the gameplay loop, and each page we have, and that helped further along with the styling. Now I'm going to be passing along. Oh, sorry. This is our login page, where you can log in and create a new user. Everything is saved to our user database for new users. Now I'm going to be passing on to Victoria, and she's going to tell us a little bit about our homepage.
So now that we've landed on the homepage, you can see we've got a navigation bar and then a collapsible sidebar over on the left, which contains some general user statistics about your account and then a bit more specific navigation. The page itself is a collation of the most important information for users to access. So here at the top, you can see a banner with a little bit of an introduction to the game. And then beneath it, you can see the featured decks and then a leaderboard of the top players across the site who have the most wins in the game. So if we scroll back up, you can either press the tutorial button in the banner or on the nav bar, and it will give us a pop-up which will have an interactive guide on how to set up, play, and win a round of stats tag. So then in the navigation bar at the top, we can then go to our decks page where you can select a deck, for example, the pop culture one, and see every single card within it. This lets users see what sort of decks they'd may be interested in playing with. Each one has a unique theme as well as a unique stat. For example, you can see here this one has meme ability. And then as well as that, the high value stats, the ones that have 90 or higher, are highlighted to draw attention to the better scoring cards. So back on the decks page, you can see we have this compare cards button, which then lets you select 2 different cards from any deck and see them side by side to see how they would fare against each other in a stat comparison. And then back on the nav bar again, here we have a drop-down menu that will be touched on a little bit more later, but for now we're going to focus on this toggle dark mode button. So pressing it will invert the theming across the entire site, so we can see that a bit more in practice by going to the home page, and it's saved in your local storage, so even if you completely close down the site and go back on, your decision will still be there until you specifically choose to change it back. So then we can press either the play button in the nav bar or on the little pop-up bit and take us to this page where Karen will now be able to talk us through the game.
Thanks, Victoria. So we're now on the game setup page where we can select the decks and the length of our game. Here we can see all the decks featured in the game. If we attempt to start a game without selecting at least one deck, we'll be prompted to select a deck. The points slider allows us to select how many points we want for the game to be won. This ranges from 1 to 5. And if we go ahead and start the game with a couple of chosen decks, we are taken to the first round where we are attacking first. So our hand at the bottom features the cards we can play in each round. We scan our cards and their stats, and we can click on one to select it. It then moves up into play where the stats have a hover effect to indicate that they can be selected. So we click on a stat and it gets compared with the CPU's chosen card using our stat. And once the cards have been compared, the round is over. Player 1 has won, and we can see that both player moves have been revealed. These player scores at the top left and right are updated to accommodate the points given, and we proceed to the next round where player 2 is attacking first. So player 2 has selected a card, but we can't see it just yet. We can only see the stat that they've selected. So we click on a card based on the stat, and the cards are compared again to decide the winner of the round. So player 2 will win this round. Going on to the next round, the game loops and player 1 attacks again. We choose a card, then whichever stat we like. The cards are compared and the game finishes. We have reached the 2 points needed to win the game, and we get a game over notification at the top. If we click finish, we will see our sidebar statistics have updated with the latest win information. And if we go back to the setup game page and select all of the decks, along with setting the maximum points to 5, we can see that our hand updates to hold more colourful cards from even more decks, and the points have adjusted to show the winning amount is now out of 5. I'll now pass over to Jordan for more.
Thanks, Karen. So as Victoria mentioned, we'll have this drop-down menu on the nav bar where a user can access the toggle dark mode, and in addition, they can access their settings. This just provides some additional functionality so a user can update their personal details. Here, I'm uploading a new profile picture, updating my username, and inputting my date of birth. I've obviously shaved off a few years. Once I press submit, you can see in the nav bar that the personal details have been updated. And lastly, we'll have a basic privacy and cookies page and a contact us page where we welcome any feedback. Now over to Avian, who will take us through a bit about the process of creating StatAttack.
So implementation, what went well, what didn't? Well, with the skill set we have on this team, there was a lot that went well. But as Alex touched on, we had particularly thorough planning right from the start of the project. This included Miro and Trello boards, planning sessions, and Slack canvases, which helped us continuously throughout the project, allowing us to easily see what remains to be implemented and how we can move forward efficiently and smoothly. So smoothly, in fact, that we decided to give ourselves a bit of a challenge to implement a player versus player system, which didn't go quite as well. After starting fairly late on Tuesday, we were able to get a good way into the functionality of this secondary mode. Players could initialize an online PvP game instead of choosing to play the online CPU, which is available here, or they could also view currently available lobbies, each shown with the details for the specific games, like the other player, this waiting status, etc., and join the game of their choosing. Unfortunately, however, by midday Wednesday, we realized that due to the intertwined nature and complexity of the existing game code and our late start, we wouldn't be able to realistically finish this second game mode while still allowing an appropriate level, while still allowing time for the necessary testing and styling to ensure that it would be deployed with the main site at an appropriate level of completion and quality. So we still intend to complete it for a future sprint, but for the time being, we ultimately decided to turn our focuses elsewhere to better polish off our existing systems and make sure we could show you the best, most complete product we could. So I hope you've enjoyed this product and our presentation.
Amazing. Thank you so much, team. And excitingly, for those asking if it can be deployed, Alex has posted a link in the chat. You can go and play. Super fun. It brings me back to all my childhood memories of playing Top Trumps constantly with my sister. Amazing work, team. Such a cool project. You've done such a great job. If anyone has any questions, pop them in the chat. But what I imagine most people have gone to do is quickly go and have a play of the game. So I'm not sure how quickly they're going to be getting the questions in. But really well done. Great work. Yeah, any questions, pop them in the chat and the team can answer there. And you can go and play the game at your own leisure. But not right now, because right now we've got another team to present. Exciting times. So I'm going to pass over to my final team, which are Team Tamagato.
Hey everyone, I'm just going to set up my screens. Cool. Amazing work from everyone so far. So let's get into it. Hello, we are Team Tamagato. So we're all about adopting your perfect, get it, pal. We're basically going to be going through all the elements relating to the project. So who are we? Well, essentially what the game is, in case you haven't picked up on it, it's based on the old Tamagotchi concept of looking after a virtual pet. So making sure it's fed, watered, and all those good stuff. So it's going to be a fun, nostalgic game aimed for people who like cozy games as well as the younger audience, but everyone loves a cozy game, so it's for all audiences really. So we're going to be creating something that we would enjoy both developing and playing. Big shout out to the QA guys because they helped us a lot with our planning, especially giving us a push towards the Moscow framework, which we use to keep the plan in scope. And then we wireframed up a few examples just to really visualize what we were aiming for. So I'm going to hand over now to Shani to talk about the versions of our project.
Sandy. So there were various different project stages. So version 1, which was days 1 to 2, was the creation of the MVP, where we had buttons that were clickable but didn't really do anything. Version 2, which was days 3 to 4, we expanded on the MVP a bit so that clicking actually had some consequences, and we also made elements more personalizable. Version 3, which were days 5 to 6, we added more creative features like the village, legacy pets, audio, and some dynamic elements. And then version 4, which was days 7 to 8, was just cleaning up the UI backend and also some bug fixes. So I'm going to hand over to Maddie, who will talk about our successes.
Yeah, we had a lot of positives in our team that really contributed to the success of our project. Everyone was really genuinely excited about the game, and that energy kept our motivation high throughout. Even when we ran into bugs or some tricky problems, we stayed upbeat and focused on making progress. We also worked together really well. We trusted each other's skills and had open and consistent communication, which made planning much easier. It also meant that when it came to pair programming or solving technical issues, we were much more productive. From a creative standpoint, we all brought in ideas and features that we were proud of. It genuinely felt like a shared creation. And also on the coding side, we were flexible about who worked on what. There weren't really any isolated pieces of code that only one person worked on. And that allowed us to learn from each other, fix problems a bit faster, and feel like the project really belonged to all of us. But now for the exciting bit, we're going to have a look at how the game actually looks with Fran and Harry.
Awesome. Cheers, guys. So welcome to our demo of Tamagato, the cat simulator game that we've been making. So first thing you're going to see is our login page. So existing users can log in, but today we're going to make a new account. So we'll pop in our very real email addresses and passwords here and get ourselves stuck into the game. So as you can see, we're using Ortho for all the validation, makes it nice and easy for us as developers. And here we go. So we're presented with a lovely, adorable cat to adopt. We can scroll through a number of them. We're going to go ahead and pick this cool, rare tiger cat. We can randomize a nice Spanish name. Gato is Spanish for cat, so we thought we'd throw that in there. But today we're just going to call the cat Dennis. And we're going to be Brian. So, this is the first thing we see in the living room page. Dennis has joined your family. It tells us a bit about his personality. He's got a perk, which is Love Bug. His social bar restores 25% more. But he's got a flaw, always peckish, so his hunger drains 25% faster. So we're going to delve into that a little bit later. So, there's lots going on here. So let's look at the sidebar first. We've got the happiness meter, which is the overarching meter. Then we've got the hunger, thirst, and social and fun underneath. We've got some resource counters here, and we're going to look at the help token so we can get a little bit more information. So it tells us what we can interact with on the screen and gives us a bit more info on how the cat's mood works and what effect that has on gameplay. So he's looking hungry, so let's give Dennis some food. Unfortunately, we don't have any, so let's go ahead and go to the village and get some. So this is Pawston. This is our village. It's a lovely little Spanish hamlet. We've got a sidebar over here, similar to the previous page. Got some nice quotes from the locals on there. And we've got the same resource tokens. So if we go to help, we've got a similar thing. It tells us what we can interact with and gives us a few tips on how to be a successful cat owner. Let's go ahead and get some milk from the milk well. You can see that the stuff's dynamically going down. We've got some brushes from the brush shop, cat food from the cat food tree, and catnip from the greenhouse. So we get nice little messages when we get it, and as you can see, we can't gather any more once it's run out. So now I'm going to pass over to Fran, who's going to show us what happens when we take this stuff back to Dennis.
Thanks, Harry. So we're back in the living room, and as you remember, Dennis has a flaw, so always peckish. You can see hunger at 80%. It's had an impact. It's lower than the other ones. We're going to go and give him some food, give him some milk, satisfy all his basic needs, have a cuddle, give him a brush, some catnip as well. And he's looking pretty happy now. So if we go to the left here, we can see view memories, and we'll see that we don't have any past pets because we're a new user. So to demonstrate this, we're going to shoo away poor Dennis. We've had some differences of opinion. He's here, he's sad, he's got his bindle, he's ready to get on the road. We could change our mind and not shoo him away, but we are going to drive him off in this case for demonstrative purposes. So back at the welcome screen, scroll through and choose another cat friend. We've got this nice natural blue cat here, and we're going to call him Dennis 2 for consistency to start the family legacy. Dennis 2 again is prescribed one positive and one negative trait. His fun drains more slowly, but he gets thirsty quicker due to his parched paws flaw. So here he is, looking happy in the new living room, and then if we revisit memories, we'll see that there's Dennis Nuff the first. We had him for 0 days, and he's there in the memory so we can look back. So a quick back-end magic here to take the happiness down to 4% just to demo what will happen if Dennis the 2 is unhappy. So there's justice for Dennis here. If we neglect him for a long time, sad face, he's folded his blanket, he's written his goodbye meows, and if we don't feed Dennis in time, then he's going to hit the road. He's going to move on to a better home and a better life. So there we go. It's automatically redirected us. Dennis 2 is left alone for too long. He's looking for a new owner. So good for Dennis. He's on to better fields. Good for us. We get a new cat. The cycle continues. Pick a lovely snowy cat. Imaginatively, we're going to call it Dennis 3. And that's it. So usually our users, we're imagining they'll have cats longer than this cycle that we're having here. But for demo purposes, we've gone through. But no virtual cats were harmed in the making of this demo video. And that's it. That's the demo finished, and that's the end of our presentation. So thank you everyone so much for listening. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, team. I feel like I went on an emotional roller coaster there. I genuinely felt heartbroken when we said goodbye to Dennis 1. Also reminded me of when I had a Tamagotchi as a kid, and my mum had to look after it during the day when I was at school, and she killed it one day because she was working, and I didn't speak to her for like a week. Happy times. Anyway, thank you so much, team. Such a cool little project, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of people in that we would love to play. So please let us get it deployed somewhere, make it a real game. I think it would do well. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have any questions for the team, you can put them in the chat. Just massive well done to all the software developers. And you can breathe now because your presentations are over. Just to really reiterate the fact that this was a 2-week-long project, and usually they spend the first day planning, and we have feature freeze on Wednesday afternoon of the second week. So they basically did all of this in 7 days, which is just incredible and insane, and the quality of projects is just through the roof. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm now going to pass over to Neil, who's going to introduce the quality engineering teams.
Thank you, Kerry. I have had to mute my Teams notifications because there are too many good vibes. Please keep them coming. Hello, welcome everybody. I am one of the coaches who's been working with our quality engineers for the past 14 weeks. And for the first 12 weeks, while the devs were all off learning how to do all that awesome Java and JS stuff, the quality engineers have been working with me and my colleagues, learning all about the world of software testing, how and why you write test automation, how you supplement and support that with exploratory testing, various tools and techniques you can use to do things like non-functional testing, and a load of other, far too much that I can to describe now. There's just too many things that they learned. And in these final 2 weeks, as you've just seen, we parachuted them into some real dev teams who are building real software against really tough deadlines, who, frankly, might not want a couple of people coming in and poking away at them going, hey, what are you doing here? And have integrated really well into those teams, as you have already seen. So we're going to retell the tale of 4 of those projects from a quality perspective. While each of these quality engineers has been through the same course, each of them has now taken the skills that they've learned and demonstrate them in their own way. They've taken what they've learned and fitted it to the context of their specific team situation that they are in. The first presentation we're going to see again once more to show us Phil Mitchell versus the Teletubbies again. Barbara and Alina from StatAttack.
Hi everyone, so just sharing my screen. So I hope you all can see my screen, but welcome to our presentation. We worked with the StatAttack team as the quality engineers. So just to remind you a little bit what that StatAttack is. So it's a theme card game where you play against a player and you compare stats and collect points to win. So this was our team. And now Alina will just talk about our focus.
Thank you, Barbara, and hi everyone, and well done to all the developers. I really loved your presentations. So our focus was to ensure a high standard of quality throughout the project, planning and executing test cases based on the product functionality, and of course, collaborating successfully with our developers through clear, respectful, concise, and timely communication.
Thank you. And so some procedures we had in place to ensure quality. So we had a team charter just to get to know each other and see what preferences we have in terms of working together. We also attended regular team meetings with the developers to update each other on our progress as we went through the 2 weeks. Any mistakes and issues we encountered, we took them as opportunities to learn. We also made sure that all communication was done in a timely manner, just so that any issues could be resolved early on. The more important thing was also using the right tools at the right time. So, understanding what the tools do and where we should be using them. And then also we remained adaptable and changed our approach as required throughout the project.
Both Barbara and I were unfamiliar with this game before the start of the project. So we wanted to create a state transition diagram to help familiarize ourselves with the game rules and features, and to ensure we were both clear on how the game should act. As you can see, the diagram runs through all the steps from the start of the game to the end, and this also gave us a really good starting point for our test planning and exploratory testing. Now, the next slide lists some of the tools that we used for testing, and as we go through the rest of the presentation, we will go in a bit more detail about some of these, touching upon how and why we chose to use them.
Thank you. So first, we done some accessibility testing. So we used Colorblindly. So Colorblindly is a browser extension tool which helps simulate different types of color vision deficiencies. So below on the screenshots, you can see different visual impairments people might have and the way they would see the website. So the main thing we were focusing on is making sure all the text can still be readable for, regardless of the visual impairment. And from the screenshots, you can see that all the text was still readable.
Thank you, Barbara. Now, another tool that we used for accessibility was the Lighthouse, which looks at how usable or accessible a website is for people who might require assistive technologies like screen readers. And as you can see there with the two arrows at the bottom of the screenshot, this came back with 92% accessibility rates, which is a great credit to our developers and their hard work ensuring their product is accessible to a wide range of users.
Thank you. So next, we carried out some security testing. So we used Zap. So Zap is a security tool used to find vulnerabilities in web applications. So on the right-hand side, you can see a screenshot showing the test running in Zap. So there were multiple issues identified, but we only decided to focus on any high or medium alerts. And then on the left-hand side, you can see a screenshot from the Zap report. So any medium and high alerts, we then passed over to the developers so that they could increase the security of the website.
Another tool that we used during testing was SonarQube, and this is a static analysis tool which looks at the source code for any security, reliability, and maintainability issues. This produced a really useful report, which we intended to share with the devs in full, but we are unable to do so because of the SonarQube version that we had available. So as a workaround, we decided to capture screenshots of the high priority bugs, and we logged these on GitHub instead, so that the team could still access the static analysis findings and work on them.
Thank you. So next, we done some performance testing. So for that, we used JMeter. So JMeter is a tool that can simulate multiple users sending requests just to see how it would perform under pressure. So we kind of played around with the setup of the test. So this first one you can see was simulating 1,000 users sending requests with 10 seconds ramp up period. So as you can see, the site performed really well. It was just the first request that took a bit longer, but any following request took around 20 milliseconds, which is really, really fast. And then we also wanted to test how it would perform if all the users send requests at the same time. So for this, we selected the ramp up period of 0. And what we have identified is there was around 100 users that could send requests at the same time. If we tried to do any more, the site would crash and there was too many requests sent. But as you can see, even without the ramp up, the site still performed quite well.
Thank you, Barbara. Now, another type of testing that we did was exploratory testing. And as part of this, we reviewed documentation produced by the developers. For example, the README file and the game tutorial. We wanted to ensure that this was easy to understand, follow, and implement. We also created a test table to guide us during the exploratory sessions and check that the web page was displaying correctly with the relevant text and features fully visible and accessible by the users. When it came to bugs, enhancements, and suggestions, we used the GitHub issue section, which made it easy for both us and the developers to keep up to date with our findings and understand the bugs and their progress at a glance.
So next, we tried implementing the continuous integration. So for us, this was the biggest obstacle we had to deal with. It took us a very long time trying to set everything up. So on the left-hand side, you can see the file with the setup. So unfortunately, even after trying for quite a long time, we weren't able to set it up to run all the tests. So we had to compromise and just set it up in a way that it doesn't run any Selenium tests, but it only runs the unit tests. But as you can see on the right-hand side, it ended up working and passing the test in the end. And then next, I'll just talk about some automation. So the reason why we decided to automate was to be more efficient and to avoid wasting time by having to redo manual testing, each time there was a change on the website. So we created some test script and also the page object model, which you can see in the screenshots. And we also have a little demonstration of the automation tests running. So this test was just to run through a simple gameplay. It will run through quite quickly, so it might be hard to see exactly what's happening. But yeah, as you can see, it finished running the test, and then it does say there at the bottom that one test passed, and it also gives you the results of the game.
Brilliant. Now, our learning journey would not have been complete without us pausing to look back and reflect on what we've learned and how we handle challenges along the way. So here we can see some of the obstacles that we encountered during the project. Time constraint was a big one. We would have loved to be able to expand on our current testing. We also ran into some configuration and setup issues with some of our tools, as we mentioned previously in the presentation. And this is where we had to think outside the box, utilize our problem-solving skills, and sometimes spend hours troubleshooting to find a workaround and successfully progress our testing.
So just to conclude our presentation, we both think this has been a great opportunity to learn and grow, especially because we got to practice all the skills we have learned on the course. We also really enjoyed working with the devs, as it kind of showed us what the real project would be like in the real world. And we also enhanced our problem-solving skills. And that's it. So thank you very much for listening.
Fantastic. Thank you both. Yeah, such a huge amount of stuff that you've got crammed into 2 weeks there. I mean, there are a load of teams in the real world too. If they're in the first 2 weeks of a project, they probably wouldn't even thought about hiring testers yet. And that here you are giving quality contributions, about, pardon the pun, from the beginning, which is fantastic. I was seeing all that code coming in. I was thinking, I saw like your database seed files, and I thought, I could add a commit that would put like a set of cards in for the makers coaches. And I thought, no, that would be a terrible idea. What would you rank them on? And how would I win? Which would probably be impossible. But a really fantastic project and really good contributions. So thank you for both of you. Next up, we've got Jenny and Cheryl from the TESBAR team.
Hi, everyone. We're in the same room. I think it's echoing. 1 second. Is that... Can you hear an echo? Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So I'll just share our presentation. Okay, perfect.
Right then. So this is me and Jenny, and we was part of the Rock the TESBAR team. And so from the beginning, we focused on testing both the product and the development process itself. Quality was embedded throughout each stage, not just treated as an afterthought. We were involved from planning through to delivery, contributing documentation, structured test plans, and continuous feedback. In between the QAs and the development was central, helping align expectations and maintain clear, constructive workflow. It wasn't just about finding bugs, it was about building confidence in the product through thoughtful and well-communicated testing. We started with a clear spec with wireframes, which helped both shape design and functionality. Reviewing these together meant we could align early on user flows, spot user experience issues in advance, and begin thinking about test scenarios from the start. For the MVP, we defined 4 core user stories, which you can see, and each had acceptance criteria, and we held detailed team meetings to break them down. This clearly helped us test more effectively and catch issues sooner. As the project progressed, newer features were introduced, but it wasn't at the same kind of level as the previous ones. So that means we've learned that strong user stories equals a strong product, and we're definitely taking that forward. A highlight of our process was the exploratory testing documentation. Each session was clearly written with bugs linked to user stories and raised in Git issues. This helped developers jump straight into fixes and show the full picture of the app quality. Throughout, we stayed grounded in user value. Does this feature work as expected, and is it doing what the user needs to do?
So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about GitHub issues and the Trello board. So we use GitHub issues to log and manage bugs and enhancements in a clear and structured way. To ensure consistency, we created a bug report template that helped us to capture key information like steps to reproduce and expected versus actual results. We made use of labels to differentiate between bugs and enhancements to make it easier for the developers to prioritize issues. The developers also created branches linked to the issue, which increased traceability, and we received quite a lot of positive feedback from them about the ease of this process. Once all the bugs were resolved, the developers added comments to confirm the fix, and the issues were closed. This helped really maintain a clear history of progress through the project. We also used a Trello board to help manage tasks across the team, with each ticket linked to a user story. Our team meetings often centered around the Trello board, so everyone could see what was in progress, what was blocked, and what had to be completed. We also used CI and static analysis tools. So in the first week, we started to introduce these tools. Like the previous team, we faced some issues with these, particularly with the CI workflow. Initially, it was running, so you can see at the bottom, we've got lots of ticks. Unfortunately, it started failing when all the tests were added. This was due to cloud integration problems with the external API. If we managed to get that working, fully operational, it would be really good to help with the quality and stability of the project. We also used SonarQube, which is a static code analysis, which helped us identify issues such as code duplication, complexity, and maintainability problems. Again, we had issues integrating this with GitHub. So what we did was we shared our findings during team meetings with the developers.
Then for automation, we focused on high-value, repeatable user journeys, things like the cocktail suggestion logic, homepage functionality, and making sure the cocktail of the day displayed correctly. We used Cucumber and Selenium to create end-to-end acceptance tests that reflected how real users would interact with the app. These journeys involved cross-page interactions, which made it ideal for automated regression checks. The real benefit, when we had made updates and added new features, we could rerun these tests and get fast feedback whether anything had broke. We didn't automate everything. We prioritized core MVP flows first, but looking back, we know automation would have been a huge help for the later features too. That's something we'll take forward, developing automated tests early and alongside features to catch regressions before they hit production. Next, we've got MongoDB. It was completely new territory for both of us at the start of this project. We definitely had a few please work now moments trying to get it running locally. And one of our most effective debugging tools turned out to be the README file. Thank you, software devs. We had to carefully follow the setup instructions to get the database connected properly. But once we did, we started seeing features like the cocktail of the day being pulled dynamically, which felt like a real win. The screenshot here captures one of those proud moments. MongoDB successfully doing its thing in the background. Getting over the initial learning curve showed us how powerful MongoDB could be for storing and retrieving data quickly, and experience reminded us how important clear documentation is for setup, troubleshooting, and onboarding future team members. Alongside learning MongoDB, we also set up database scripting, seeding script using Faker to generate realistic data, including usernames and mock ratings. This step turned out to be crucial for testing. It meant we didn't have to manually input data every time we wanted to test our new feature. With seeded data, We had more realistic environment to work in, making exploratory testing faster, more effective and more meaningful. I set up the seeding for this as the developers was focused on the core features for delivery, and they definitely helped. That said, in hindsight, we would probably have introduced the seeding earlier in the project. Having seeded data from the start would have supported more robust testing sessions, helped us identify bugs sooner, and improved our ability to evaluate the user's experience throughout the development.
So something we really wanted to implement was the age verifier to make sure that the site was secure. So we wanted to make sure that no users under 18 could use the site. So what we did is we reviewed other alcohol-related websites to ensure we were aligned with their guidance. This verifier appears for new users on every page and currently checks based on birth year. In the future, if day and month fields were added, we'd be able to carry out additional boundary testing to ensure accuracy. For example, with edge cases like users turning 18 that day. One challenge we encountered with this feature was that it affected our automation testing. So since the verified pops up on every page for new users, it interrupted tests that were designed to begin on the homepage. Again, that's something we'd look at doing in the future in any future automation setups. We also looked at accessibility. So we used Colorblindly and Lighthouse. We introduced the developers to Colorblindly, which is a browser extension on Chrome, and it helps to see how different users with visual deficiencies would see the site. So on the left here, we've got an early iteration of the website, which was using kind of gold and green color style. There's some issues there with some of the writing. So as the developer team changed things, we made sure they were looking at Colorblindly for any changes they were making. We also tested across light and dark modes because there were differences with the colours depending on which mode it was as well. And then you can see on the right, we've got our Lighthouse accessibility score. So we scored 94 out of 100 on the final project. So we're really happy with the score at the end. And then finally, these are our key takeaways. So I'm just going to focus mainly on the last one, which is the team makes or breaks the project. I think we had a really, really supportive team, really collaborative. I think we pitched in for all the time, whether it was the Trello board, the user stories, the code. I think everyone really kind of pitched in with that. And it made a real big difference. So thank you to the developers and thank you to Cheryl as well. And thank you for listening. So let us know if you have any questions at all.
Brilliant. Thanks both. I'll look to the chat in a second to see if there are any questions coming in. I see a hand from Carl. Carl, far away.
All right, so misclick, you say.
Okay. Well, then all I will say is, okay, there's a request in the chat internally for a link to Colorblindly. So if someone can find that while I am carrying on, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, we throw so much information at our learners during the course of the bootcamp, and it's an extremely intensive period. You never quite know like what people are going to recall and when. So when I saw that people were putting in like Faker to generate sample reviews and things like that, it was like fantastic. Like the fact that you recalled that tool, knew how to use it, reshaped it for your context was really nice to see. So well done to you both. Definitely feel like we should be using that tool in our retro when we finish today. The penultimate presentation then this afternoon is going to come back from Team Tamagato again. So Fahim and Lauren, over to you.
Hey guys, I'll be the one leading the presentation. I'm just going to set up screen. Can you Can you all see that?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So yeah, great presentations, everybody. So hi all. Lauren and I will be presenting to you today the journey for us as quality and test engineers regarding the Tamagotchi game, which is the Tamagotchi style web game application that you saw presented earlier by the devs. Unfortunately, we're missing one of our team members, Owali Jama, who is off sick, but he did have an early input into the testing of this project. We wish him a speedy recovery. If you have any questions during the presentation, please take a note, and then we'll be happy to answer them at the end. So we as testers were lucky to have worked with the dev team, Team Tamagato, who are absolutely fantastic, a great bunch to work with. And as you said earlier, they developed a lovely game in such a short time frame. Planning started on the Tamagato game with us as QAs asking the developers to fill out a QA testing kickoff document. We used this document to help us define what the application was all about, its key functionalities, the most significant risks, and what features to focus on testing. The document acted as a useful way for us to understand user stories and specifications, which in turn helped us formulate and develop a testing plan and schedule that would help us focus on key areas to test and when they should take place. We regularly checked in with developers, which helped us stay on track and in sync and allow us to respond quickly to changes. Since time was short, we made sure to prioritize and limit the scope of our tests to the most important functions and features. We grouped our tests based on the significant areas of development, like the login page, the gameplay, and accessibility, which made things easier to manage. Both teams collaborated through a Trello board to keep track of development and testing. We also made sure that we had a clear exit criteria for each sprint. For example, the login must work securely or pet actions must respond as expected. And finally, in regards to planning, tests were documented clearly and GitHub was used to manage test bugs and issues, including automation with Selenium. Next, looking at what we tested and why. Based off our objectives and test plan, we focused on testing on making sure the Tamagato game worked as expected and was enjoyable and accessible for all users. Due to time constraints, limited tester resources, and development sprints, we focused only on the following. First, we tested login and logout features when using Auth0 to check that users could securely access their pet and keep their data saved. Next, we made sure the core game features like feeding, playing, and petting the cat responded properly and updated the pet stats. We validated the game state changed correctly based on how the pet was treated, like when it was happy, thirsty, or even when it was shooed off. We conducted integration tests regularly alongside the code, so everything could be tested as the developers built the project. Selenium helped us simulate real user behavior across pages like the welcome page, play, and login pages, so we could be confident the UI worked as expected. On the accessibility side, we used Colorblindly, Lighthouse, and Wave to test how the app worked for users with color vision differences or those who use screen readers. Everything we tested was linked back to the project specification and test plan, so we weren't just checking that it worked, but that it had met the brief. And so now I'm going to pass you on to Lauren, who's going to go through the next stuff.
Thank you, Fahim, and hi everyone. It's been really nice to watch everyone's presentations. It's really lovely to see everyone's projects. So as you can see on our slide here, we use a variety of different types of testing in our project. A quick note to say that unit tests were written by developers, which is pretty standard for a project like this. So integration testing, we checked that our database connection was working and that user data was being saved and logged correctly in our database. We used Table Plus and Auth0 for this. End-to-end testing, so we created different user journeys following different user paths, such as creating accounts, logging in, logging out, navigating through all available links, checking buttons, and that core functionality was working. And we automated some of this testing, which I'll talk about in the next slide. As a lot of teams have already mentioned, we did a lot of accessibility testing using Colorblindly, Wave, and Google Lighthouse. The image you can see on the screen is a screenshot taken from some Wave testing. We wanted to ensure that the game could be used by the broadest range of users possible. And our testing involved looking at things like alt text, color and contrast, keyboard functionality, font sizes, and adding a help button with explanations for the user on how to play the game. We did some cross-browser testing, so we chose 2 browsers for this due to time constraints. Would have been great to have tested more, but we did Safari and Chrome, and that was very interesting because we did find different bugs and unusual behaviors in each, so that was worth doing. We both conducted, myself and Fahim both conducted exploratory testing. I actually came into this project a little bit late. which actually gave me the opportunity to do a bit of black box testing. So that's when you test without looking into the internal workings or the code base. So I just got to play the game unscripted to find unusual behaviors or defects. And that was really worthwhile doing. And we also did some regression testing. So after bugs were marked as fixed by developers, we went back and checked that those had been resolved. And on this slide on the left, you can see some Java Selenium code that we wrote as part of our automation suite. And on the right-hand side, those are some test cases. It's a little bit small, but basically all that's on there is different test scenarios with screenshots of any bugs or results found, expected and actual outcomes. So what steps did we take to ensure quality? Fahim's already mentioned a couple of these, but we did a lot of planning and a lot of initial team planning with developers. So a big thing we did at the start was sort of explaining our role to our software developers, explaining the importance of testing and quality, what tools and types of testing we can carry out. And we also had a lot of discussions early on with our developers about accessibility, and this was added to our team's objectives as something the developers really wanted to prioritize. So they were thinking about accessibility very early on, which was very cool to see. As part of our planning process, we as a team wrote objectives. We ascertained what core features we wanted to include using the MOSCO technique, so must, should, could, and won't. And then as testers, we'd made some state transition diagrams, a user flow diagram, established what was in and out of scope for testing. And from all of this planning and ideation, we created a bit of a test plan and schedule and wrote some test cases. We also did a risk assessment, which helped us inform our test strategy. So from the planning stage onwards, we were in regular communication with our developers. So we had a system of logging bugs on GitHub issues, which worked really well. Everyone was able to access that fine. And we had, as part of we had 2 stand-ups every day in the morning and afternoon. In our afternoon stand-up, we involved a bug triage session where bugs were added to a section of our Trello board and were then assigned to a specific developer to work on. And then we could discuss those in the next meeting to ascertain that they've been fixed. And after each type of testing carried out, we also wrote a test report, which gave a summary and key details of the things that we'd found. And these were accessible to all the team as well. So what did we automate and why? So as I've already mentioned, we did use some Java Selenium to automate some of our end-to-end testing. So we automated some basic user journeys or happy paths and ran these after each new version was pushed to GitHub. So this verified that some core functionality worked as expected. So things like pages loading correctly, buttons being clickable, elements being present, and basic functionality had the expected results. So for example, when you click on a feed button, it increases the pet's happiness. And we chose to automate this part of our work for 3 reasons. Number one, we found it was faster to automate the repetitive element of this part of the testing, and it meant we had more time to focus on more complex manual testing. Number 2 was consistency, so it meant that we were following the same steps each time. And number 3, for regression protection. So after each push, we wanted to check that core features hadn't broken. And I'm going to pass you back to Fahim, who's going to talk you through some challenges.
Thank you, Lauren. So what obstacles did we encounter during this project? One of the biggest challenges that we faced was only one dedicated tester available for most of the project due to unforeseen circumstances. However, this didn't hamper the testing too much and allowed the tester to focus and test the most important features of the game within the tight time frame that we had. We also faced a few other hurdles. Time was short, so we had to prioritize what to test first, like the most critical user actions and login. Setting up Selenium tests was tricky, especially trying to automate login with Ortho, which uses external redirects. Development and testing often ran parallel with one another, which meant features kept changing and some tests broke or needed rewriting. User interface changes, especially button names, IDs, or layouts, would sometimes make previously working tests fail unexpectedly. However, despite these obstacles, we still managed to cover key areas with a mix of automated and manual tests. And I'm just going to flick over to the next one. So there you go. So overall, this was a great experience and opportunity to work with a fantastic development team who produced a brilliant app and something that we're all really proud of. We really enjoyed testing it and being part of a great team. So thank you to all members of Team Tamagato. This project gave us the opportunity to put in practice 12 weeks of what we learned on this bootcamp and really pushed our skills to the limit. And finally, a huge thank you to all the quality engineering cohort, our coaches, and the wider Makers team for believing in us and helping us on our QA and testing journeys. So thank you all for listening. And if you have any questions, please fire away.
I'd also just like to add to that a massive congratulations to Fahim for really carrying this project in 2 out of the 3 testers' absence. You did a really great job. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fahim and Lauren, and also to Ali as well, if you're watching back. Hello. Fantastic. Really, they're demonstrating on that project one of the benefits of this quality engineering approach that we teach here at Makers. Traditional testing is very much about, we'll build a thing, then we'll give it to the testers and see if they can work out whether this was the thing we meant to build or not. But by moving these testing activities towards the earlier parts of the project, what we call shifting left on the timeline, really demonstrating there how you can have those conversations early and get things considered from the start. So fantastic. Well done to all 3 of you. Our final presentation then this afternoon is going to come from the trio of testers within the Food Cloud project. The floor is all yours.
Let me know if you can see my screen.
I can.
Perfect. First of all, I just want to say congratulations to everyone. We made it to the end. And then we will kick off. So hello, everybody. We are the quality engineering team who worked on Food Cloud. To kick things off, we just wanted to quickly explain how we approach the project as testers. So as quality engineers, we weren't just here to find bugs and break things, we were here to promote quality throughout the development process. That meant helping the developers think about accessibility, for instance, encouraging them to use HTML IDs, which is beneficial for voiceover tools when describing images, and promoting habits like planning and alignment during daily stand-ups. Day 1 was especially important to us. We pushed for cohesive planning with a strong focus on creating wireframes, designing the database structure, and defining a clear vision for the product. We asked essential questions as a group. Who is this website for? What is the purpose of the website? What functionality will it have? And what do we want to achieve from our meetings? This all ensured that the whole team had a say on the direction of the website. This early collaboration also helped us write and review user stories, making sure that we left each session with a shared understanding of what we were building and why. Throughout the project, our mindset was to build quality in from the beginning, not just test at the end. And that approach helped us guide the team to a stronger, more user-focused final product. Our first major focus was on the login and sign-up feature. It was one of the first functional areas, and it was vital to the security of the system, so it made sense to prioritize it. We also introduced the developers to the GitHub Issues tab. We set up templates for bugs and enhancements and made sure the development team understood this would be our main way of flagging problems and improvements. In the early days of the project, this system was changing so rapidly, so exploratory testing was our main approach. After each merge, we met for a catch-up to discuss the new areas and what testing should be carried out next. Once navigation was working well, we started planning out our automation tests. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. So how did we test it? We began by creating test plans, state transition diagrams, and decision tables to bring structure to our testing. This was important to us as it made our test consistent and replicable. We used automation testing, which Joe will be expanding on later, but the bulk of our testing was manual. The focus of our testing led to prioritizing testing on several different browsers, including Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. During our exploratory testing, we varied our approach. We tested from the perspective of a normal user, testing the features in a ways that the developers expected, utilizing user stories as a guideline, but we also assumed the perspective of destructive users, making deliberate attempts to test the features of the application in ways that were not intended in an attempt to find defects and ways of exploitation. Our principal approach was black box testing. We stayed away from the code as much as possible so that we wouldn't be biased by how the system worked behind the scenes. Our goal was to replicate real-world usage and catch the kind of issues that end users would experience. After every merge addressing a bug, we went back and retested, attempting to replicate the bug before closing the issue. Regression testing was important to us, so we reran our planned tests every time a new feature was implemented. Finally, we designed end-to-end tests mimicking a complete user journey to ensure the website functions from start to finish. Procedures to ensure quality. Over the course of the project, we raised 35 issues, and to the developers' credit, they successfully closed every bug that was found. We tried to make sure our bug reports were specific, giving detailed reports on replication and behavior. To promote quality, we also went beyond just testing features. We made numerous enhancement requests asking for features that would increase the flow of the website and increase ease of use, pushing for the developers to implement these improvements. We made a lot of effort to engage with developers, communicating where we felt the website could be improved visually and functionally to refine the appeal of the site. We provided feedback on accessibility, including a live demonstration showing the impact of accessible HTML. We wanted to make sure that the devs really understood how screen readers worked, as this is something they had not encountered before. Included in our accessibility testing was making sure the website was visually compliant, testing the site with Lighthouse and Colorblindly. We also used Lighthouse to run performance checks. We shared the report and highlighted areas for improvements, like switching from JPEG to WebP for image formats and optimizing image size to improve efficiency. Lastly, to support more meaningful testing of the search feature and meal plan, we created and shared seed data for the recipe database. This let us test with a range of inputs, including special characters and edge cases. It also helped the application to feel more realistic for presentation purposes. And it's over to Joe.
Thank you, Ben. Hi, everyone. So automation. When we reached the point where the system felt stable, we decided it was time to begin automation. We didn't want to automate too early as the system was still changing rapidly, and we knew that premature automation could lead to wasted time maintaining flaky tests. We started with the login. This was a foundational piece. Almost every user journey requires login, and nearly all of our future automated tests would rely on this setup being solid and reusable. So by implementing the login steps first, we set ourselves up for scalable, maintainable automation moving forward. Once that was complete, we turned to the search recipes feature. Search is a core feature, and we'd already gained confidence in it through manual and exploratory testing. We also knew that it was a strong candidate for parameterized testing, which allowed us to automate a wide range of search scenarios using different data combinations. This gave us solid coverage whilst being efficient with our time. After this, we focused on automating page navigation. We knew from our manual testing that navigation was essential to the user experience and that future changes could potentially introduce regressions. Automating this gave us quick feedback and confidence that users would be able to move through the app smoothly after each deployment. We built our test using Cucumber, the page object model, and step definitions, which kept our automation clean, readable, and easy to expand, something that would be useful if the system was to continue to grow. So obstacles and improvements. During this project, we of course faced challenges, but each one gave us a chance to improve how we worked as a team. One of the first issues we ran into was communication and planning. In the early days, we didn't always know what the developers were building or when new features would be ready. This made it hard for us to plan our testing and meant sometimes we spent time preparing for features that weren't coming anytime soon. We raised this with the team and the developers responded right away. They ensured our awareness of their focuses each day during the meetings. They gave us clear updates on their work, which allowed us to prioritize better and test more effectively. We also had to learn how to work alongside a team with different workflows. Understanding the developers' habits and priorities helped us find better ways to collaborate. We introduced the dev team to GitHub issues labels when the question around priorities was asked. This helped to clarify severity and urgency of the problems we were raising, meaning that the devs could focus their time where it mattered the most. Accessibility was another area where we needed to ensure a shared awareness. When we noticed early versions of the app lacked accessible HTML, we took the time to demonstrate why it mattered. We walked the developers through the VoiceOver tool on macOS, and later we created a video demonstration that showed the real-world impact of poor accessibility. This helped shift the team's understanding from something more theoretical to something tangible. In every case, we worked to turn obstacles into collaboration, not just finding problems, but helping the team move past them. Over to Cheryl.
Thank you, Joe. So obviously, due to time limitations, we weren't able to test everything that we would have liked to. If we would have had more time, we would have performed the following tests. So we would have done some stress testing, would have used Faker to generate multiple user login credentials and then automate the login sign-up tests. This would give us a good idea of how the website performed under increased footfall. We would integrate more automation tests for consistency. We would test on even more browsers, and we would also carry on with accessibility. As you can see from the screenshot, it's at 89 right now, which is fantastic from obviously just a couple of days' work. So we'd work with the dev team to get that into the 90s. And there we go. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. A special thanks to our developers and the coaches. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Hugely, very smooth, professional. It's really easy. As someone who's been in the industry for like 20 years, it's very easy to forget amongst this group that these are people who've only been testing for a few months. 3 months ago, they joined us. They hadn't heard of what do we mean by quality? What does it mean to do good testing? And they're just throwing out statements like, yeah, of course you don't want to start testing or doing your automation too early because it's going to be really flaky. Those sort of ideas are really hard to get into people who've been in the industry for a long time. So really very mature approach from all 4 teams today. Fantastic. I'm just flicking through the video screen here to see. Anastasia, do you want me to hand back to you, or would you like me to take us home?
All good. Thank you to everyone. All of the devs did a wonderful job. It was lovely seeing all of your presentations. You can see the effort and the creativity honestly blows my mind every single time. But thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to all the coaches, to Neil and to Kerry. And congratulations to the devs. Yeah, enjoy your weekend, guys. See ya.
Thanks, everyone.
Well done, everyone.